New discovery in our sobering problem investigation. We have uncovered that 41 DUIs have been dismissed in Bedford County, and every one of those arrests was made by a single trooper with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. It was on this rural street in Bedford County where Ron LaFlamme became number 41.
I was surprised when he started asking me to do a sobriety test.
Not the 41st person to be arrested by Trooper Asa Pearl for DUI, the 41st to have that DUI ultimately dismissed.
It was wrongful arrest and, oh, don't get me going.
In fact, word was getting around Bedford County about Trooper Pearl's DUI dismissal rate.
I know that during the time that Ron's case was making it through the court, Ron's case was not the only one with this particular trooper where blood results were coming back negative.
But finding proof of all those dismissed DUIs wasn't easy. No mention of them in Pearl's personnel file. And so we filed an open records request with the Bedford County Clerk and found these. Dozens of DUI arrests dismissed, all made by Trooper Pearl between 2021 and 2024.
It tells me there was a systemic problem with what he was doing on the side of the road.
Then we obtained this, a spreadsheet put together at our request by the Bedford County DA's office, explaining why each DUI was possibly dismissed. Here's what it shows. In 8 of the cases, including Ron's, the drivers had neither drugs nor alcohol in their system. In 14 other cases, the driver's blood alcohol level was within legal limits and no drugs were found. And that adds up to 22 cases where Pearl arrested someone for DUI and they were sober.
I don't even take prescription drugs. I take 1 vitamin a day.
The other 19 DUIs dismissed are just as confounding. Look, several cases had to be dismissed because Pearl was no longer available for court or couldn't recall the events of the arrest. And we wanted to talk to Pearl about all of this. Why so many sober DUIs on the streets of Bedford County? Why was he not available for court or couldn't remember details? But Pearl never responded to our emails or calls. All his personnel file shows is that in 2024, he resigned from the THP. No reason given. But Pearl is not forgotten in this county, especially by 41 people. Did you get an apology from the officer?
No.
This could happen to your child. This could happen to your parent. This could happen to your coworker.
As we have with every investigation, we reached out to the THP with our findings asking for an interview, but we received no response. And we've also created something for you. We have created this map. It shows all of the police agencies that have made sober DUI arrests, and that's based on public data and cases we've confirmed. And you can find this right now in this story on the WSMV4 app.
Welcome to America's DUI scam. I didn't say Tennessee's, even though that's obviously problematic. I said America's DUI scam because this is occurring everywhere. Doesn't matter the agency. In the United States of America, if you're stopped by a law enforcement officer and that officer is determined to make a DUI arrest, you are going to be arrested. Before I talk about how they're doing it, I need to talk about why they're doing it. And even more so, why is it being tolerated? And in fact, it's not even tolerated, it's encouraged, it's promoted, it's protected and supported by agencies and agency heads.
Former state troopers are coming forward tonight, blowing the whistle, they say, on a quota system that's leaving innocent people charged with crimes they did not commit. Good evening. I'm Lauren Lowry.
And I'm Marius Payton.
I'm Tracy Cornett. The next time you're out driving on the interstate, especially late, you're going to be thinking about what WSMV4 Investigates has now uncovered.
Chief investigative reporter Jeremy Finley is here with the latest on his sobering problem investigation.
Well, guys, what we've uncovered is more than just 2 former troopers coming forward about what they say is a system designed to pressure troopers into making as many DUI arrests as possible. We've also obtained a secretly recorded meeting and internal maps that troopers say explains why so many innocent people are being charged with DUI. We've told you about Thomas Manis's arrest and Stephanie Fair's and Candace Slade's and all the other people arrested for DUI by state troopers when they were completely sober. But we've never heard from any of the troopers who've arrested sober people for DUI until now.
This is corruption. We're ruining people's lives. We're being forced to ruin people's lives.
Do you know if you've ever arrested a sober driver for DUI?
Yes, sir, I'm sure I have.
Former troopers Ashley Smith and Adam Potts say there's a reason so many innocent people have been arrested for DUI in Tennessee by state troopers. A reason, they say, revealed in these internal maps and recorded audio from a troopers meeting in Chattanooga.
Arrest every DUI that you can get your hands on.
Now, some might interpret what the captain said as being inflammatory, but is it? He was saying if they're drunk and you get your hands on them and they're driving, put them in jail. Arrest every one of them. If they're drunk, that's the implication. So what he said may seem inflammatory, but he hadn't crossed any lines yet.
We've always thought this was a great thing because you want to get drunk drivers off the road. Do you feel like that this push to get DUIs is eventually having a negative outcome?
Absolutely. There's pressure to arrest DUIs.
Potts says it's not just pressure.
It's a quota.
I have to ask you, did you ever feel pressure just to pull someone over and arrest them for DUI just to make a quota?
Absolutely.
It's something directly addressed in recorded audio from a meeting with Captain Patrick Turner out of Chattanooga, obtained by WSMV4 Investigates.
I'm passing on the message of what the command staff wants. What does hard work look like? Well, it could look like arresting 100 plus DUIs a year.
In that meeting, it stipulated to troopers on the midnight shift, 100 DUI arrests will be required each year per trooper.
If they're DUI, I want you to load the jail full of them.
Turner also talks about consequences when it comes to how many DUI arrests are made, as well as contacts, meaning drivers pulled over each shift.
You turn in 33 DUIs for a year and 1.7 contacts, you're going to get spanked.
But despite what you just heard, this is what the THP emailed us. Quote, the Tennessee Highway Patrol does not have or use quotas for traffic stops, citations, or arrests. And there's more. In emails obtained through the Open Records Act, Captain Bruce McCarley sent out maps this year. Subject line, DUI map. It shows every county in District 8 and every trooper with a number next to it.
This is a very common tactic used by law enforcement agencies intended to spur internal competition by using what I would call the shaming method. You send out an accumulated arrest report by trooper by region according to the number of DUI arrests over a specific period of time, but you put it in a format where every other trooper can read it. I'm not saying that should be withheld. I'm just saying it's a tactic. Now you're looking at your name and numbers compared to the other names and numbers of the troopers who you work with, who you may be friends with, at least your acquaintances. And if you're lagging, well, first there's going to be shame, embarrassment, and maybe anger. And if you're lagging behind, you are now motivated to no longer be lagging behind. What's that going to do to the decision-making process? Exactly. And that's why quotas are counterproductive.
These former troopers say those are the numbers of DUI arrests made by each trooper. What is the message to you all? Why send this out to troopers?
You're not doing good enough because somebody else is beating you with the DUIs. You need to do better.
These former troopers say there are incentives for troopers to make DUI arrests.
The advantage of arresting somebody, whether they're really drunk or not, is I continue to get that premium overtime.
Recall that I'm still talking about why so many sober drivers are falsely arrested for DUI. I haven't started talking about the how or the methodology. I'll cover that in a little bit. It's incredibly corrupt and it's very easy to do. I'm still talking about what motivates it. And the first motivator, well, it's a mission from God. They're saving lives. But what you heard this former trooper with the Tennessee Highway Patrol just disclosed, that it's all about the money, premium overtime, that's exactly right. That's the number one reason. The number one motivator for why this system of DUI enforcement in this country goes off the rails as reliably as it does. Because of money. Lots of extra money in the pockets of the troopers in terms of federal overtime for actual DUI interdiction on federally controlled highways, interstate highways, or other federally controlled limited access highways. And then they get time and a half in most cases when they testify in court. if it's a day off. Usually, sometimes they get time and a half anyway, even if it's during a normal shift. So the money that gets transferred from your federal tax dollars to each state and then from that state into the pockets of the troopers is obscene. How often do you ever hear about governors getting involved with what's going on in this travesty called DUI interdiction? Even though these state agencies, if we're talking about them, they all work under the executive branch of the governor's office. The governor could rein this in. The governor has that kind of authority, but they largely stay quiet. Now you know why, because their silence is bought and paid for with your federal tax dollars. Same thing with the attorney general for the state, or the state treasurer, the state secretary of state. Everyone in that state is bought and paid for with your federal tax dollars. And in the meantime, sober drivers keep having their lives ruined only because somebody wants a high body count. Keep in mind that when somebody says, "What are you doing to stop drunk drivers?" the first thing law enforcement will do is what? That's right, they turn to arrest numbers without context. Strictly the numbers. That's all people's attention span usually covers. By the way, just how much money are we talking about anyway? I'm talking about total disbursements from the federal government to the states on an annual basis. And what about the state of Tennessee? What did they receive in, let's say, fiscal year 2025? Well, here's the numbers. And be prepared to be shocked. $800 million, more or less, just in fiscal year 2025 alone. Tennessee got $33.5 million of that just in fiscal year 2025 alone. Now you understand why they're financially incentivized to violate your rights, to make these false arrests of sober drivers. Remember, there's no consequence. To stack up a body count. Premium overtime. That's right. They get to go out and buy more toys at our expense. So how do they accomplish this? It's easy. By their very nature, a DUI investigation, what they base their probable cause upon are not objective facts as much as subjective observation, which then lends itself to personal interpretation by the officer. Anyone who agrees to take a field sobriety test is a fool because they're never going to be able to pass it. It's not their job to prove their innocence, folks. It's the officer's job to try to prove that the individual is operating that vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant. But people agree to take field sobriety tests out of ignorance or fear. I understand that. But they might as well just be signing a confession. Because if you have an officer who's determined to make a DUI arrest, it doesn't matter whether you do field sobrieties. They've already got you pegged for a cage before they even have you step out of the vehicle. Before you ever step out of the vehicle, let's see, bloodshot, watery eyes, slurred speech, and you fumbled for your documents, you're already going to a cage. See, they play games with words and terms and phrases. Anything else a person does, especially in terms of answering probative questions, they tell the officers upon request what they take for prescription meds. They're not your fucking doctor. You're not serving your own best interest by answering probative questions of any kind and agreeing to do field sobriety tests. They're only going to be used against you in a very subjective manner. And they can keep building their case and building their case the more that a person acquiesces to their ridiculous demands. If you're going to get arrested, I would never counsel anybody not to submit to the blood test, but you don't have to consent to it. They have to apply for a search warrant to get your blood. Make them go through the work. Make them put their probable cause in a search warrant affidavit. I don't want to sound like I'm providing legal advice. I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to cross that line, but you're not required to do field sobriety tests. And the very first one, especially once you're out of the vehicle, the cops are going to want to do is the eye scan. And almost everybody agrees to that. You're definitely going to get arrested if you submit to the eye scan. Because you don't know how bouncy your eyes are, see? It's subjective and they can lie. And there's not a thing you can do in your own defense. So it's up to the motorist, it's up to the individual traveler. Do they want to submit? Or do they want to maintain as much control during the interaction as possible? It's up to you. What say you?